Welcome to WST, your West Coast source for sports. I'm your host, Kyle, and today we have a very special guest, the Dodgers beat writer from the LA Times, Jorge Castillo. Jorge joins the show to talk about the Dodgers' new center fielder, AJ Pollock, the key adjustments that Cody Bellinger made as a hitter this offseason, and the Dodgers farm system, which prospects will come up later this year and make an impact in the second half of the season. So tune in right now. Can you talk about some of the new faces on the Dodgers this year?
Yeah, I think so. The two most prominent, obviously, are AJ Pollock, who's playing every day in center field, starting center fielder, and Joe Kelly, who was signed to sort of be a setup man for Kenley Jansen. And so far, we're early in the season, but the early returns have been very different. AJ Pollock has been very good so far, playing every day in center field, while Joe Kelly's first two outings have been rather disastrous. So those are the two main guys. Obviously, they'll let Puig, Kemp, and Alex Wood and Farmer go. But those are the two main acquisitions they made this offseason.
If we get into AJ Pollock, for many fans that may have not seen him play in the past, how would you describe his game?
He's really just understated. He doesn't wow you with any one of his tools, but he's a very good player just all around. He kind of checks all the boxes. He's a good power bat, good speed, good defender, hits for average. He does a little bit of everything. He's not a guy who has, huge power or huge arm, guys that kind of stand out with those tools. But when he's healthy, he's very good. The problem is he hasn't always been healthy, and they've been sort of freak injuries, break a thumb here. I think he's had an arm injury in the past. So if he stays healthy, he can be a very good player. The Dodgers gave him, I think it's $60 million guaranteed over 5 years. His age 31 season. So the Dodgers are banking on him being able to stay healthy and sort of keep up the production that he had in Arizona when he was healthy. So, but that's how I would describe him. He's a guy he's hitting cleanup for them. He can hit up and, he can lead off. He's been hitting fifth a little bit too. You kind of put him anywhere in center field, he'll do a good job too.
Yeah, I read somewhere where Dave Roberts said that AJ has given them the ability to do less of platoons. Like he's going to start, he's a Gold Glove center fielder, and he's going to allow them to have more stability in their outfield every day.
Yeah, he's an everyday guy. Really, the Dodgers only have one strict platoon, I would say. That's what Dave Roberts has said, and that's in left field with Chris Taylor and Jock Peterson. First base is not as strict of a platoon, but Max Muncy and David Freese is sort of split time, but Max Muncy will still see time against lefties. But that was one of their goals, is to just kind of get more of an everyday, guys in there every day, have more of a presence in there instead of what happened late last season, where over the course of the year, especially September, October, they were just straight up platoons pretty much up and down the lineup except for a couple spots.
Cody Bellinger is playing in right field, and for now, he's the everyday right fielder, and he's off to a red-hot start. He leads major leagues with 5 home runs. He's up at the top with 12 RBIs, and he's hitting over 400. What adjustments have you seen from him if you look at him early on this year compared to the last couple of years?
So we've been asking him. The Dodgers were adamant from the off season, spring training on through, that he was going to be an everyday player for them in right field. They wanted to get him back out there every day. They felt like what happened last year was sort of fluky. People kind of just forget that he wasn't a platoon guy till late August, beginning of September. They gave him a long leash, and he just struggled against lefties. He never really, he struggled. He just never got on track against lefties, which is weird because, the year before as a rookie, he came on and obviously he did really well, rookie of the year, 39 home runs, and he hit lefties really well. So what happened was the league sort of adjusted to him. As they say, you kind of game plan against for a guy, they get the book on you, and he never really adjusted back. But this off season, he spent a lot of time working with the Dodgers hitting coaches, Robert Van Scoyoc, Brant Brown. He's mentioned that helped him a lot. Just talking to those guys, seeing video, watching video, kind of understanding what his weaknesses are and what his strengths are, and going up there with a game plan and approach, instead of being like honed in on that. Where I feel like last year, obviously I wasn't around all last season. I came on late, but the impression I'm getting is he would, the focus wasn't really quite there. He didn't have a game plan, and it kind of just snowballed. So he's been great so far, and it's not, the guy's 23 years old. I mean, he's gonna be 24 in July. He's a young guy, still kind of learning the ropes, and he just came on so strong his rookie year that you kind of just like, wait, what's going on last year? And it's not like he struggled against righties. It was just against lefties. And, I mean, if he's going to have this kind of production, be the kind of hit of the Dodgers division, the offense is a very different unit.
What I've noticed is he's cut down on his strikeouts so far, and I think that goes back to your point where he's got an approach, he's got a game plan, but also he kind of has an idea of what the pitchers want to do to him to get him out.
Yeah, and some of it's just using the entire field. Last night, I don't want to use dates here, but on Tuesday night, he had a grand slam off Madison Bumgarner, who's a lefty, and that's kind of a big deal in that, last year, like I said, he struggled against lefties, and he takes one of the better lefties in the National League, straight away center field for a big home run that proved to be the difference in the game. So if he's able to do that, just consistently, just be, good against lefties, because against righties he'll be there and he'll be matching them. So it seems, at least so far, it's early, small sample size alert, but so far so good for him.
He's trending in the right way. So we've got another player, Kiki Hernandez. Looks like he's an everyday player. He'll now play at second. What type of season do you expect to see out of him this year?
Well, so the interesting thing, like you said, he's an everyday player. That's something that the Dodgers, I believe, Dave Roberts sort of announced that towards the end of spring training. Kike Hernandez did really well in spring training. Obviously, spring training is spring training. The numbers they almost never translate over to the regular season, but sometimes they do. And the difference with Kike is the final 2 months of the regular season last year, he's one of the best hitters in baseball, not just on the Dodgers. He played really well down the stretch in the regular season, helping them get to that, game 163 and win that game. The problem was in the playoffs. He was, terrible. A lot of strikeouts. I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but he was bad. And, that was something that when he went to the off season, he wanted to figure out what was wrong. And what he found out was that a lot of guys were just going up, just throwing fastballs high in the zone, and he would swing, and it was, he really didn't stand a chance. So what he tried to figure out this offseason, again, working with Vance Kolyak and Brant Brown, Aaron Bates, is figuring out ways to kind of patch some holes in his swing. And again, it's early. Spring training, we're, a week into the regular season, not even. But the Dodgers believe that, he's tapping into some of his potential. And again, the last 2 months of the regular season last year, he was great. So if he kind of bring that over into this season, be a little more consistent, that's why he's an everyday second baseman right now for them, and that's why he beat out Chris Taylor for that job. So defensively, he's there. Tuesday night he made a great play to turn the game-winning double play, game-ending double play, and the Dodgers were in a tough spot there in the ninth inning with his arm strength. He made a diving stop, I believe, earlier in the game. He's just defensively, he's just there. So if the offensive numbers are going to be there, he's going to be a very good player for the Dodgers this year.
As you know, once you have success in this league, pitchers and opposing teams tend to do something different, and it's all about adjustments, and hopefully he's made the right adjustments to carry him through this year. If we look out to left field, you mentioned the platoon with Jock and Chris Taylor, which brings another important player up, Alex Verdugo. What is his role on the team?
Yeah, so right now his role is basically, come off the bench to pinch hit late in games, in big spots, start up 2-3 times a week, kind of cycle through the outfield. If they want to put Bellinger at first base, they can play him in right. If Paul needs a day off to play center, that kind of thing. That's his role right now. Now, whether that changes, that's super interesting to me, just because I can envision maybe at some point this season, later this season, some point this summer, maybe September, whatever, where they decide, if our best team might be Bellinger at first base and Alex Verdugo in right field, and then going from there. So that would be super interesting to see if that happens. Obviously, Max Muncy is last year was a big piece of the team, so But I think defensively, that's definitely their best lineup. The best configuration is with Verdugo in the outfield, and Bellinger at first base. I think we'll see quite a bit of, maybe we might see that defensively at the end of games, at least for sure. I think this season at different points. But right now, his role, which is kind of a weird role for a guy who's been a top prospect for a couple of years now, who did really well in AAA for 2 seasons, to kind of be like a role player, kind of a bench guy. Usually prospects come in and they play right away and they play every day, but that's not how the Dodgers. The Dodgers this isn't a team that's like building or rebuilding or looking for the future. They're trying to win this year, and they think for now this is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, usually this has a way of playing itself out with injuries and slumps. And the good thing about the Dodgers is they have the flexibility and the versatility to move players around if someone does get injured or if someone, is scuffling around. So I think time will tell, but, based on his track record and what I've seen from him, I think he's going to have a big year and be an important part of the Dodgers team.
Yeah, I think he hits righties and lefties. He brings a different kind of energy to the team. He had a big home run the other night and brought this sort of energy to the dugout and stuff, and the way he was running the bases and kind of being loud about it. It's he's a personality, and I think he's good for that team in that regard. And I think just eventually he's probably going to play himself into more playing time. Just a matter of time, I think.
I agree. Now, if we move over into pitching, Kershaw and Rich Hill both began the season on the DL. How has the starting pitching looked so far, in your opinion?
Well, the problem is with the starting pitching is, Julio Urias looked great in his first outing on Monday against the Giants. 5 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, didn't walk a guy. The problem is he can't give them length because they don't want him to go deep into games. They're really being careful with him. So he's going to be the first guy that goes into the bullpen once either Rich Hill or Clayton Kershaw comes off the injured list, and it's going to be Clayton Kershaw who comes off first. He's pitching Thursday in Oklahoma City for rehab start, so it's just a matter of time, maybe as early as next week when he comes back. Julio, I think, is believed to pitch is going to pitch Saturday. I think this weekend sometime against Colorado. And then Ross Stripling was good in his first outing. Henry Muir was good in his 2 outings so far, but Walker Buehler struggled in his first start Sunday against the Diamondbacks, I believe it was, 3+ innings. Just couldn't put guys away. So he had a really weird, odd spring training in that he made 1 Cactus League start, had a sim game, and then, was pitching in the regular season. So it's the kind of thing where the Dodgers have just to wait it out, wait until Kershaw comes back and Hill comes back, and then with those 2 guys coming back, it's sort of a chain reaction. You got Stripling and Julio Urias in the bullpen to help out a bullpen that struggled really, really a lot early on here in the week of the season. So, it's starting pitching. It's deep, but there are a couple guys hurt right now. They got guys like, Tony Gonsolin might make an impact on this team later in the season. He's 24, starting the season in AAA, pitched really well in spring training. So there's some depth there. Just right now they're dealing with injuries and kind of odd situations with Julio Urias and Walker Buehler.
Based on what you've heard, how concerned are the people with Clayton's health and starting on the DL?
Well, it's this type of thing I think that he'll have to just manage is the shoulder. The shoulder bothered him last year. It affected the depth to his slider, which became a problem because the slider started looking a lot like his fastball, which makes him more hittable. So it's something he'll have to manage. Whether he'll ever have that slider back, we'll see. The slider that he used to have, which is, probably his best pitch for a stretch there. So, the Dodgers are going to take their time with him. He's, like I was just saying, they have a lot of depth there, in the starting rotation. They don't need to kind of force the issue here with Kershaw. They need him more down the stretch in October than now. So I think it's something he'll have to manage, though, for sure.
Yeah, and if the Dodgers keep hitting like they do, they'll just outslug everyone.
Right, and that's another thing too. The offense can kind of, like they did on Tuesday night, they kind of slug their way and mask some mistakes, some pitching trouble. The offense is deep. It's pretty loaded. So that's a luxury that these kind of teams have. These deep teams have is you make some mistakes, you have some weaknesses, and And there are other parts of the team that can mask those inefficiencies.
Yeah, and you had mentioned when we kicked off this podcast about Joe Kelly's struggles and his role in the bullpen. Now, there is a rather large free agent out there, Craig Kimbrell. Do you see the Dodgers making an offer or going after him at all?
No, I don't. I think the Dodgers think of it this way. So a lot of people are wondering, why is Julio Urias, not starting? There was twofold. One is they want to limit his innings to make sure he's ready for the September, October, where he's probably going to be a starting pitcher. There's a good chance of that. And another thing is Julio Urias is probably going to be their best reliever this season. Yeah. So he'll go into the bullpen and he'll be a guy they can look to in high leverage situations. The other thing about Kimbrell, beyond the money, is he wants to pitch the ninth inning. Now, maybe that'll change as time goes on and he doesn't have a job. But if he wants to pitch the ninth inning right now for the Dodgers belongs to Kenley Jansen, who's he's been around here for a long time. He's a fan favorite, clubhouse favorite, a guy who's helped his team get to 2 World Series. And now, what are you going to do? You're going to strip him of the closer role? Yeah. How is that going to play out in the clubhouse and with his fan base? So there's also that dynamic to it. Unless Kimbrell's willing to pitch the 8th inning, or be a setup guy, be used in whatever way the Dodgers want, then obviously it's the money. There's the money situation. I just think it's more about fit right now with Kimbrell, and the Dodgers aren't quite panicking yet. They're not panicking. We're a week into the season. Joe Kelly, obviously 2 bad outings. His stuff, Dave Roberts and Joe Kelly, they both insisted the stuff was there. Just some execution wasn't quite there, and just some bad luck on top of that. So they figure he can only get better from here. But again, with Julio Urias and Ross Stripling going into the bullpen eventually, this is the type of team that in July will add a reliever or 2 if they need to, in August before the waiver deadline, if they need to. So, it's just something that the Dodgers believe they can fix.
Yeah, it's early, and oftentimes, the first month of the season, small things get blown up and magnified, but it's a long season, and I don't think the Dodgers are going to panic. They should be in good shape. If we forecast or look out towards the second half of the season, what young players impressed you during spring training that could be called up at some point during this year?
Well, I think the 2 guys that are most realistic when it comes to sort of big name or prospects, the most realistic sort of debuts we can see this season are Will Smith and Tony Gonsolin. Will Smith's a catcher. He's not a top catching prospect as Gabriel Ruiz, but Ruiz is 20 years old, starting in AA this season. Will Smith in AAA. He's more defensively. He's a major leaguer. Andrew Friedman this offseason said he thinks he could win a Gold Glove right now behind the plate. He has some versatility. He can play in the infield as well. Third base, second base. Hitting. He's not close to what Ruiz is, but he provides value behind the plate. So I think if we're talking sometime this summer, Martin or Barnes goes down, I think he's a guy that'll get called up. And then Gonsolin is 24. He looked really good this spring. He pitched really well this spring. Has a nasty kind of change, like a split changeup that was fooling guys all spring long. And he really came on last year. So he started the season in AAA. That's the guy who I think if a couple injuries to the rotation or they need some kind of just help, and they think he's a guy that can help them out, I think over the course of the summer he could come up as well. The one guy that Dave Roberts, without hesitation, said impressed him the most this spring training was Dustin May, who's 6'6", kind of a lanky pitcher, right-hander. He's a starter, and he pitched really well this spring. I think he's just 21, 22 years old. He's starting in AA. So Dave Roberts said that both he and Gonsolin could help the team out this year. I just think Gonsolin's further ahead right now. He's in AAA. He's a couple years older. So he's a guy that I think could help out this year before Dustin May does.
Yeah, the Dodgers have a great minor league system and some prospects knocking on the door. So it'll be interesting to follow them and see how the season plays out for them. A couple more questions and we'll let you get out of here. So the Dodgers have won 6 straight division titles. What has to go right for the Dodgers to win their 7th NL West title this year?
They don't even have to play to their potential, really. What needs to go right is one of these other teams just doesn't, in the National League West, just can't play way above their heads. The National League West is just not very good. At least, that's what the projections are. And when we believe right now, right, a week into the season. But I just don't know who's going to compete with them. The Rockies going to compete with them all year long like they did last season. I mean, they lost their best reliever last year. Daniel Murphy's already hurt. There's some questions there with them. The Padres, the Diamondbacks are sort of a mess. Goldschmidt left, Pollock left.
Goldschmidt left.
And Souza, tore his knee up right before opening day. Then you got the Giants, who just, that lineup just isn't very good. So there isn't much competition in the National League West. So a lot needs to go wrong for the Dodgers just not to win this division, sort of by default, just because they're very deep. They're a team that goes beyond 25 guys. They use their entire 40-man roster. They have sort of the flexibility during the season to add pieces as necessary. They're the one team in this division who is in the elite, in baseball. So I think a lot needs to go wrong for them not to win the division. If they don't win the division this year, it is a huge failure. Beyond this team is thinking World Series. I don't want to speak for them. You don't want to assume you win the division, but those guys believe. It's just a matter of them going out there and playing pretty well and winning the division pretty easily. So I really don't see that as a big of like a huge obstacle than them getting their 7th straight division title.
No, based on what happened this offseason and what didn't happen this offseason in NL West, I mean, if you ask me, I would say the Dodgers are going to win 100 games at least. I think they're the favorite to win the West, and they've got depth, and they've got all the right pieces. But to your point, they're just trying to get to the playoffs and win the World Series.
Yeah, and last year, everyone was saying the same thing to us, right? So we were all saying, hey, the Dodgers are going to win the division by 1 million games, and they have a great team. No one else in that division can compete with them. And then lo and behold, the Rockies take them to game 163. They need to win that game to win the division. So, things can happen. But as you sit here today, a lot of things went wrong last year. That's why they needed game 163 to win it. Sort of the same thing needs to happen this year for them, not to win the division.
Yep, I agree. All right, so last question. It's kind of a choose your own adventure question. I'll either ask you a question about college basketball or the NBA.
I've been watching. Let's do NBA. I'm an NBA fan, so.
All right. I see that you wrote for the Washington Post and the New York Times. So my question is, who has a better shot at making the playoffs next year, the Wizards or the Knicks, and why?
Oof. All right. So I covered the Wizards for 2 years before I covered the Nats for 2 years at the Post. So I have a pretty good understanding of that organization still, even though I'm a few years removed. But I think, let's see. I mean, the Knicks have, there's a chance to get Zion, but they really have no other pieces.
Chance they could get Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie and Durant. Then we got Kevin Knox and who else? They got Emmanuel Mudiay. The Wizards, Brad Beal. The Wizards don't have any money. Yeah, John Wall's coming back. They have no money. I'm gonna go. Well, I think they're both gonna make it next year. Is that a weird? Because I think the Knicks are gonna make it, but I think the Wizards. I'll go with the Knicks. Yeah, I'll go with the Knicks, just because I do think they're gonna get Durant. So I think Durant pushes them in. I think there's a good chance they both make it next year, especially if John Wall comes back. The East isn't very good, so you team up John Wall and Brad Beal again, and even if, as the Wizards tend to do now, it's going to be a 6, 7, 8 seed. But I'll go with the Knicks because I think Durant will go there for sure, and then maybe Kyrie follows or Jimmy Butler or one of these other guys who's there.
Or even Kemba, and they get Zion too. So I agree with you there. I'm going Knicks as well.
Yeah, I'll go with Knicks.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping on and talking Dodgers baseball and getting into a little NBA as well.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.